Podcast. I'm your host, AJ Guyton. And once again, we have another special guest, someone that I know I met a while ago, someone that Hoosier fans know because he's had some awesome games against us at times. So welcome Miller Kopp to the House of Hoosier. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm glad to have you, man, down in Houston, getting a little, I know it's warm down there, getting a little sun. I
Yep,
had to catch
yep.
you a couple of times, y'all. Miller was out there getting his workout in. It's tough. He's a workhorse. It's tough to time down, but we finally got a Friday, man, and we appreciate it, man. So the first thing I'm gonna do, man, is I'm gonna do a few questions to get to know Miller. What's your hometown, Miller?
Houston, Texas.
All right,
Houston,
good.
Texas.
Favorite food dish?
Ah, man, that's tough. I'd probably say something my mom makes, probably one of her pasta dishes.
Ooh, I
Probably
love
one of her.
pasta.
Yeah,
Go to
yeah,
go to Italy, man. Get that real pasta if you haven't
yeah,
already.
no.
Yeah. Your high school rival.
High school rival was Episcopal High School.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any notable
we.
names come out that high school?
Yeah, a guy who just got drafted in the NFL, Jalen Waddle.
Okay.
Yep, he went there, and then a couple other guys who got drafted this past year too. So,
Big time.
um, it's a big football school, but they have some good players basketball wise too. So,
Okay. I mean,
but
I know
yeah,
it's hostile environment. We'll get to that later. What's
yeah.
your favorite hobby outside of basketball?
Um, just honestly spending time with my brothers. I've got
Right.
three brothers, and
Mhm.
they're my best friends, and
Mhm.
just any time I can spend with them is
Mhm.
is my second favorite thing to do.
Okay. On a personal level, on a social level, when people meet you, what are they most surprised to know about you?
Um, I think when we start talking, obviously, just some random people, I guess. They see I'm 6'7", and they realize my mom is like 5'2", so
Right.
they don't really know how that happened. So I think that's one of the first things, and then just from probably just asking me questions, I'd say
Yeah.
that
Okay.
because you don't really expect that.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I would say you probably have a great personality, but you seem so focused and locked in. I
yeah,
had that for me personally. It was they always thought I was like an asshole, really. Like they like he's an
yeah,
asshole. But when you talk to me, you become friends with me, you realize
yeah.
you're far from it. So 'cause-
Yeah, yeah. Looking on like from the outside, it looks like I'm kind of like you said, kind of like an asshole. Like you know, kind of you can't talk to that guy. Especially if you see me on the court or working
right.
out or whatever it may be. It's like okay, yeah, I don't want to mess with that guy. But then it's like off the court, it's completely different. Where you know, I love to meet people and talk to people and laugh and
Mhm.
just have a good time.
Oh, that's what's up, man. Your favorite NFL team?
Pittsburgh.
Uh-oh.
My mom and dad are from Pittsburgh,
Oh,
so I
okay.
grew up a huge Steelers fan.
Awesome, awesome. Favorite
Yeah,
NBA team?
I'd probably say the Rockets just because I'm
Right.
born and raised in Houston.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, favorite to greatest. Who's your favorite NBA player of all time?
that's tough. Uh, favorite probably Kobe.
Kobe,
Probably
your
Kobe.
favorite. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I would say.
And then who's the greatest NBA player of all
Oh
time?
man,
In
this
your
is
opinion.
tough. This is hard. I always stay out of this argument when it comes up, whether it's
Oh,
like in the locker
we ain't
room or
arguing, Miller.
yeah.
We
I'd
ain't
probably
arguing.
say, I'd probably say, oh man, I've been part of so many different
Right.
conversations. I'd probably say Michael Jordan in my eyes, just
Okay.
from the stories I've
Mhm.
heard and from the film and stuff. I know people talk about his competition and stuff, but I don't
Right.
really. I mean, I think that it's Michael Jordan, but I think it's just hard. It's hard to pick one over the other. I don't know. What about you?
Right. For sure. For Michael Jordan's my all-time. I was able to see all the candidates, most of the candidates, except for the Wilts and the Bill Russells. But
Hmm.
I don't think people understand the impact Mike had on the game without even having a basketball. Like
Yeah.
he didn't have the ball. He didn't. It was this perception like he just played one-on-one all the time.
Hmm.
But once he got to the point where he would start using his teammates, he was able to. He was always averaging 5 or 6 assists a game. He got a lot of points off offensive rebounds. His energy
Yeah.
was unmatched. It was unmatched. And he's the fastest 6'5", 6'6" guy I've ever seen in my life. I had an opportunity to play with him when he was training to come back to the NBA. So I
Gotcha.
got to see it up close, and he was
Yeah.
older then. Like it was a little slower, but it was like, oh, when you play on his team, man, your antennas go up. Like you don't want to let Mike down. Like you don't want to miss that open jump shot when he passes. You know what I'm saying? Because he ain't gonna pick you no more. You know, so and then mine's come from a different. So I don't get into the debate, but I love to hear why people think someone is the greatest or the best. But my favorite player of all time is Penny Hardaway. Like nobody played the game that made it look easier than this dude. So, and I just like people who look effortless out there when they play. So, but yeah, man, we definitely ain't arguing. We always gonna have that conversation, man. So we'll get into you and what was your family dynamic like coming up? How were you raised and the values that shaped you in becoming Miller Kopp?
Yeah, so I've got 3 brothers, 1 older and 2 younger. And, my parents are the single biggest, reason I am where I am today. I think, as much as they taught me and taught my brothers and I verbally, what to do, what not to do, how to act, how to treat people, they really did it with their own actions. Treating people with respect, making the right decision, thinking about things before you do them and understanding the consequences of certain things when you decide to do something. And then, the biggest thing I think that I've learned from them is just the value of hard work and the value of treating people with respect. Those are 2 things I think that my parents and I and my family have done, since I can remember. And it's helped, my brothers and I all play Division I sports and get to a level where we feel like we can succeed and just put us in a position to do well, not just in sports but in life. And so I'd probably say those 2 things are something that I'm have with me forever, and it's a part of who I am because of my mom and my dad, for sure.
You talked earlier about having 3 brothers, man. What was that competition like? I know the backyard one-on-one games were outstanding, but also did it ever get to that line that you like get to? Did you ever cross the line? And if you did, what happened?
So we crossed the line a lot of times. So we have a goal over our where we have a goal like in our driveway. And so we would, hours and hours and hours and play just one-on-one, where there was 21 or 2-on-2 sometimes, whatever it was. It was just everything was a competition, from when we had a ping pong table, because my dad, he played professional tennis. And so, we always had to have a ping pong table. So, everything was a competition from, who could shower the fastest, who could swim the fastest, who could, eat dinner the fastest and then put it away. Like it was nuts. And so
you guys competing who can eat the fastest?
Yes, it was nuts because we were all growing, super fast in like elementary, middle school. So, it was like you got home after school, after workouts, it was like, all right, we got to go. And then, but I'd probably say, crossing the line. I mean, there were many times that we did that. I mean, I remember we would, probably the best and worst thing my dad did was get a big light over the driveway so we could play at night.
Right.
And so, because usually we were just, when it got super dark, we couldn't do anything outside. And so then we got the light, so it would get dark. We flipped them on and we kept playing on the goal. And it got so late that eventually, when we were arguing and someone made a call, and my parents were woken up by they heard like a knock at the front door, and it was the police, because our neighbors had thought that there was so much yelling and screaming and cussing and all that stuff. They thought that something was wrong. And so they called us the police on us. And then my dad was like, you got to stop, come inside.
Did that stop the late night one-on-ones, or you just guys learn how to keep it quiet?
Oh yeah, we had to keep it down. We learned how to argue every call without really yelling at each other.
Right? All out there in sign language.
Yes, exactly.
Heck no, that's
Yeah.
incredible. And to keep it in perspective, how old are your brothers? They're younger than you?
Yep. So the one is older. He's 24.
Mhm.
I'm 22. My younger brother is about to turn 21, I think, next week. And
Okay.
then my youngest brother is 18, about to turn 19.
And you said they're Division One. Where do they go to school?
So my youngest brother is a quarterback at University of Houston.
Wow.
The one just above him is plays basketball at University of Missouri, Kansas City,
Mhm.
with Coach Billy Donlin. And then,
Okay,
I'm
BD.
at IU, and then my oldest brother played football at Vanderbilt and graduated like
Oh my
last year.
God. And I know
Yeah.
them wars, boy. Woo.
Oh no, it
Yeah.
was bad. And the one of the worst things my dad did was get us a pair of boxing gloves.
Oh
And
man.
that was,
Don't
but he
tell me.
only got one pair, so we only got one glove,
One
and you were
glove.
lucky if you got the right hand.
That is hilarious, man. Y'all got to
Yeah.
definitely come out with a Netflix
Oh,
movie.
I know. Honestly, we do.
For
We've thought
real.
about it.
For real. When did you develop that love for basketball, though? When did that start?
I playing sports, was a huge part of my life growing up,
Mhm.
and I played every sport. But I'd probably say around sixth grade, I really started to fall in love with it, and fall in love with the work. I met a guy, Teddy Wheeler, who, his son, played 2 years at Georgia last year and is transferring right now. But, he kind of taught me how to work, and taught me how to, um, you know, operate in the world of basketball, and kind of reach a new level in terms of my game. And so, from really sixth grade, seventh grade on, I took basketball as serious as I could. And
Right.
one thing that my dad has, um, you know, showed me is that if we're going to do something, and if there's something that you want to do, and you really love, then we're going to go, 110%, at it. So, I told him, I was like, look, I want to focus on basketball. This is what I want to do.
Mhm.
You know, being in seventh grade, my goal is to play in college. And so I
Right.
told him that, and he goes, okay, well, if you're going to do this, then you're going to do this. And then, we set on a path to make it happen. Um, I didn't look back.
Right. What were some of those things that you and your dad did to start to tighten up all your skill, your shooting, your ball handling, that enabled you
Yeah.
to be successful? What are some of the things you guys did?
Well, I mean, it started with a guy, with Teddy Wheeler, because,
Mhm.
I played AU. He was my first AU coach. And so, that was a whole new world, coming into a different atmosphere of AU basketball, and,
Mhm.
working out, and just learning how to work. And so, stuff from, we would practice, um, we'd have AU practice like every day of the week. And then, me and him and my dad would stay after and shoot, and to like 11 at night in the gym. And we would just get reps up and get reps up. And it was just the pursuit of just, understanding that I can always be doing more, and
Right.
that,
I got you.
um, the next level wasn't really going to wait for me, and I had to step it up, and, to meet my potential.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason why I want you to expound on that, because a lot of parents think that getting their kid involved in an AAU program is enough, and it's just
Yeah.
simply, you're just not getting enough work. You're not getting enough
Yeah.
individualized attention.
Yeah.
You're not putting enough reps in
Yeah.
over and over and over again. I just wanted them to
Hmm.
hear that. That hey
Yeah.
man, yeah, you can play all you want, but it's going to be what you put into it outside of that is what's going to really help
Exactly.
manifest that. So I just want them
Exactly.
to hear that. I want them to hear that. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time. Bet Rivers Sportsbook is offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play through to turn your bonus into cash money. When you win at Bet Rivers Sportsbook, they pay fast. And now it's even faster with Rush Pay instant approval for withdrawals. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable. With March Madness around the corner, there's never been a better time to give Bet River Sportsbooks a try. Go to betrivers.com today or download the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling a problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. When did you begin to notice, when you got to high school, obviously, when you begin to notice that you were different from the other kids, your talent started to separate you?
I'd probably say my sophomore year. I transferred from a big, went to freshman year. I went to Stratford High School, which is a public school, a big time football school in Houston. And, a guy like Andrew Luck, came out and up there who played for the Colts. And so, it was a big football school and I wanted to focus on basketball. So I transferred to a private school and Houston Christian and was able to really just hone in on my craft and work. I think I noticed there my sophomore year that, I got around, some different kids and realized that, number one, that they weren't doing as much as I was, and that what I was doing wasn't normal.
Right.
Because, I'd be, shooting in the morning with, making best friends with the security, the night guard and, the janitor, so I could get the lights on and shoot on the gun before practice and before school actually. And, stuff like that, where I could tell that, when I told people, when they asked me, like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here so late? What are you doing here so early? And I just tell them, and they're like, it's normal. And they kind of look at me weird. That's kind of when I knew, like, okay, what I'm doing maybe isn't super normal, but it's, I've made it my norm.
Right.
That makes sense.
What was that game that you had that really solidified it? I know I always talk about my freshman year, I played JV and I had a game of my life. And I knew, I was like, oh, I might be a little different from these dudes. What was that moment for you?
I'd probably say it was my junior year. I already knew, that I was good and that I feel like that I was better than most of the kids, in Houston, to say the least. And so, but I'd say my junior year, I came out and it was like one of the Saturday games. And, it was like the beginning of maybe a tournament or something. And I came out, I had like 44, I had like 11 threes. And I was like,
yep.
I was like, this may be, it's coming together. It's coming together.
It's coming together.
And I left the game feeling like I didn't, I didn't play the fourth quarter, but I left the game feeling like, man, I could have played better, so
man, you mad at the three you missed.
Exactly. Yes.
I could have 50, man. What's up? What obviously you had a stellar high school career. Your recruitment begins to pick up. At that time, what was your dream school before, as you were starting to get recruited? And obviously that changes I had a dream school. I think I wanted to go to Virginia back in the day for no reason other than I liked the colors. And they was, you know what I'm saying? And there was a good team on the video game I used to play. So it was just reasons like that. But for you, as it begins to pick up, what was your dream school at that time?
I'd probably say, before I started the process, I'd probably say it was Duke. Just because I liked it. My mom liked the colors. She likes blue and that kind of stuff. And I was like, I feel like I could, that'd be a good school or whatever.
Right.
But honestly though, it was my dream school was just to be at a blue blood.
Exactly.
So, and that was really kind of the top of it. Like that's really what I wanted. So
absolutely. And before we get to that, and you looking back now, you've done it all when it comes to AAU and high school. Would you change anything about that process of AAU and recruiting? I know it's really way different than when I played, so it was a lot different for you. But now, as we get older, we start to think back, man, I shouldn't have wasted my time doing that, or that wasn't good for me. What advice would you give to the young kids who are going through that process of AAU and travel right now?
Yeah, I'd probably say if you're getting recruited, well, first off, you got to have the good grades, to be able to do that, because a coach, unless you're a guy who's going to get drafted and, is maybe top 5 in his class, like you can have maybe subpar grades. But if you're the rest of the 95% of the kids like me, like you have to be able to hold your own in the classroom and
Right.
show that you're a high character guy, because no head coach who's getting paid millions of dollars is going to stick his neck you know on the line for you, who you can't even get your grades right, but you want to play
Right.
college basketball. So
Mhm.
that's the first thing. And so the second thing, if you're fortunate enough to get recruited, I'd probably say is something that I wish I would have done is ask every question.
Right.
Ask the questions that you think that you don't really want to ask because it might be awkward.
Right.
Ask them the hard questions, the questions maybe you don't want to ask it, but tell your dad to ask it,
Mhm.
tell your mom to ask it. So I'd say ask every question. It's about information. It's about um, you know figuring out what works for you and what works for them, and how you can make it work. So I'd probably say those two things are the biggest things. If
That's
guys going through that process of
great. That's great
getting recruited
information.
in AAU.
That's great information. I'm an athletic director for a school district down in my
Hmm.
hometown, and I cringe when kids say I want to play college basketball, and I'm like, you're not even taking the right classes, like from
Yeah,
the start. Like
exactly.
that
Yeah,
dream is defeated from the start.
I
So
know.
I completely understand that. And I want more
Yeah.
kids to hear that. Um, Going into your recruiting, man, you got recruited a lot. You talked about, you initially wanted to play for a blue blood, but you ended up settling on Northwestern. Why
Hmm.
was that?
Well, I think I built a really good relationship with Coach Collins,
Hmm.
and the staff, and I was excited about um, what they were building, and the trajectory of when I was getting recruited by them, and I went on my visit, and I really was struck by how cool the guys and the team were, and really
Hmm.
was um, excited to be a part of that, and be a part of that kind of family. And I was trying to get out of Houston, and experience something new. So
Right. Hmm.
Evanston, Chicago kind of was interesting to me as well, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you had a solid career. I mean, you had some ups and downs, but when did you start thinking about making a change, and why was that?
Yeah, I'd probably say this past year, my junior year,
Mm.
obviously there were ups and downs. I
Right.
started the year really well, and then had a little bit of a bump in the road, and then finished better. But I'd probably say after the season ended, I got home, and I talked with my family, and um, I kind of just sat down and asked myself, what do I want? Um, what do I really want, and am I going to be able to get that at Northwestern? And I feel like I came to the conclusion that I'm at my best when I'm kind of outside of my comfort zone, when I'm
Right.
trying new things,
Right.
when I'm
Mhm.
being pushed in ways that I didn't necessarily think I would be, and I feel like that's really when I'm at my best. So I'd say after the season was when I decided that it was time for me to make a change.
What was it driven more by the on court skill development, or whatever you want to call it, or was it more like the pressures of COVID in it? And then once you went through that, it just felt like, hey man, I just need a new start. Like what was it
Yeah,
more of that, or the other?
it was. I'd probably say. I mean, it was a basketball decision.
Okay, good, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Good.
No, I mean, I thought COVID, it was a crazy year, and
Yeah, I
it
know.
was ups and downs, and you really never knew before, heading into a game, if you were really going to play, until maybe 4 hours before the game, when they cleared everybody with the test. So it
Right.
was nuts. It was mentally a wild year, but for me it was a big basketball decision.
Okay. I'm sure leaving, and I want this message to be for all the kids that are, because transferring is kind of a in thing right now.
Yeah.
There's some for the right reason, some for the wrong reason. But I'm sure that conversation was difficult. What advice do you give kids about transferring the right way, and how to
Yeah.
go about
Yeah, I mean, transferring is obviously, there's thousands of kids doing it, um, in college basketball, and doing it in high school probably
it?
too. So some advice I'd say is be straight up,
Yeah.
be honest, give somebody a call. Don't just try to leave and
Right.
text them and leave a voicemail, call, you
Yeah.
have to man up and just say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've been thinking. And, thank that person for all they've done for you. Because, I thank Coach Collins because, for 3 years, he gave his all to me and I gave it right back. So,
Hmm.
um, I'd say some advice is to be honest and be upfront, and not be afraid to hurt their feelings, because
Right.
it is, at the same time, it is your journey.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
it's not theirs. So, you do what you feel best, but at the same time, have the respect to leave that bridge not burned.
Right. That's smart. Very smart. Great advice, man. And at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. And I
Yep.
just want to make sure that kids understand that we, like you said, we don't burn those bridges. You man up. You go have that meeting. You make
Exactly.
that call. You don't, if you don't want to be swayed, don't be swayed. It's
Yeah.
for you and it's for your career. So and it's the way that things are, and that's the way it's gonna be. So I respect that wholeheartedly, man. You dip your toe into the transfer pool, man. You look around a little bit. What was the energy that drew you to IU?
Man, it was wild, because at first, when I was entered the portal, I had one thing that I knew I wasn't, you know, in my head, I thought I wasn't going to do, is stay in the Big Ten.
Right.
I came in and I was like, okay, well, I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I want to get out of the Big
Right.
Ten for sure.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so that's what I was telling myself. I kept telling myself. And so, but the energy was pretty cool. I mean, it obviously was different coming around the second time, because I knew what I was looking for.
Mhm.
I know college basketball. I know how it goes. I know coaches. I know rosters. I know, all that stuff. So for me, it was about, finding the right fit. And, if a coach called me and, asked if I would have interest, I said, and I didn't, I would say straight up, coach, I appreciate the call, but I don't.
Mhm.
um, just because I don't want to waste their time, and I don't want to waste mine.
Right.
They
Definitely.
know, I know that they're, calling around, trying to find guys and kids that'll, fit their school and fit their program, but not going to try not to hurt their feelings to end up wasting, 3 weeks of their time when they could be
Right. Right.
going to find somebody else who's really going to end up going there. So,
Mhm.
that was one thing, but really what eventually, drove me to Indiana is the opportunity to kind of get back to where you know it used to be, at its height, to and to grow something with Coach Woodson.
Mhm.
um, you know I'm super excited to play for him and play for Indiana, and being able to be at a school that loves basketball and has a culture and and just deep rooted just love for the game is huge for me, and it just makes me want to just do better.
Yeah. What was that first conversation with Coach Woody like?
It was good. I mean, that's my dad coming in.
What's up,
Sorry, I
pops?
need a computer here.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
We'll
sorry.
start. We'll start over with that question when he done. So, all right, cool. So, what was that first conversation with Coach Woody like?
I mean, it was interesting, because at first I wasn't even thinking of taking the call, because didn't want to go back to the Big Ten,
Right.
and my parents were just like, you just hear him out. What's the worst that can happen? You'd have a phone call, and then you just talk to him. And so
Mhm.
after that, I called him, and we talked, and I thought it was a really good call. I mean, he was high energy. I could tell that he was really really excited about the job, about getting the job, about winning, and
Mhm.
about building and winning now. It was good to see. I could really tell, I'm a basketball junkie, so I could really tell that he obviously knows so much about the game, but just, hearing him talk just a little bit, I could tell that he's on a different level in terms of the basketball X's and O's,
Right.
the concepts and all that stuff. So, that was really exciting for me to hear.
Prior to that phone call, what did you know about the IU tradition? What was your education of it, your knowledge of
Yeah.
it?
I didn't know much besides, when, we played, Northwestern played, at Indiana, a couple times, and I could tell, just from the pregame, the fans, the chants, the stomping, like all that stuff, I could tell that there was a deep rooted, like a known, understood way of doing things
Right.
in the community, in the family. And obviously I know, the Bobby Knight era and all that stuff, and the height of, Indiana basketball. So I know about that stuff, and that stuff just so interesting to me, and so cool. So just to be a part of that tradition
Right.
is amazing, and really I just can't wait to really be a part of it.
What parts of your game do you feel Coach Woodson and his staff are going to help you develop the most to get to
Yeah, I think
your ultimate goal?
yeah, I think Coach Woods has talked about my ball handling and be able to play out of pick and roll,
Right.
and make great reads out of the pick and roll, not just try to come out of to score, but really be able to make right reads and be able to use my IQ, um, you know, to my advantage. And another thing he's talked about is me improving as a rebounder. Using my size and my strength, as an advantage to really be a really good rebounder. And once I get it, being able to start the break, and initiate offense is something that he's talked about as well for me. So, I'm super excited. And also, he's always talked about, you're going to guard. So that's something that, I've always, at least 10 and I'm ready to do that next year.
Okay. Have you connected with Tamar Bates and gotten to know him a little bit? And what is your first impression of him incoming?
Yeah, no, we've texted a little bit, and
Mhm.
from what I know so far, I think he's a super cool guy,
Mhm.
and he loves the gym, he loves the work, and that's who I am. So I think we'll get along just well. And
Yeah.
I think we have some mutual friends, and they've all told me he's super cool, and I'm gonna love him. So
Awesome.
I'm excited to get up there with him.
Awesome. Okay. In this segment, man, I'm gonna share with you. We only shared this with one other person at IU, and that was Victor Oladipo when he was a incoming freshman. I was just happened to be up there, and I sat down and I shared him some things. So I want to share those same things with you and give you a little bit of advice on as you go forward. And some of these things you may already do naturally, and some of them you just take them in and do what you want to do with them. But the purpose of them is to help you be as successful as you can at IU. As you know, I played there from 96 to
Hmm.
2000. I'm also an out-of-state kid that came into Indiana and really not, I mean, I understood what a tradition and everything was, but I didn't understand at the level that it was at IU because, they say in 49 states is basketball. In Indiana, it's different.
Yeah.
That's true. It's 100% true. So the first thing I'm gonna say is, man, make sure you create relationships, open up, and network because those people who support the basketball program at IU will eventually be running businesses, corporations, and all that kind of stuff. And they are everywhere in the country, in the world, man. I played in Italy back in '04. I'm walking down the street and an IU fan stops me, talks to me, and I'm just looking like, how do you know who I am? Like I'm 10
Yeah.
pounds lighter because I ain't eating over there. There's no way you can know who I am. So that's how it reaches throughout. Don't do any social media during the season. I don't know if you do that or not. Please try to stay away from that. Um, Never leave practice without making 100 to 200 game shots. after every practice, no matter what happens, good practice, bad practice, get those reps up. This was weird, but watch highlights of your favorite player before the games. That's it's going to get you super hyped. And mine was Larry Bird and Michael Jordan back then. I always watched these highlights. So play with passion and enthusiasm, but let the crowd know you feel their energy. Hopefully you guys will have fans and you can feel, but that energy is different, man. These people, you having that mediocre or that lackluster game, but once you feel that energy, it's gonna perk you up. But at the same time, they love to feel the energy. They love to see that you recognize that they're the ones who helped you get to that level. You know what I'm saying? Learn as much about the IU tradition as possible. And what I mean by that, go all the way back, man, to the Hurricane Hoosiers of the 50s and just start to understand those names, understand what those teams did and what success is at IU. And begin to, because you'll begin to walk it, talk it, and live it, man. All the way up through the 70s. Obviously, the 70s is really, really when it became nationally known, because in 75, they were undefeated in the Big Ten. 76, they were undefeated. They should have won it in 75 if it wasn't for an injury. The 76 team is probably top 2 ever, still holding a record and being undefeated. And then it's just consistency all the way through the 90s. And so just understanding those guys, reaching out to those guys when they're not reaching out, but talking to those guys when they come visit, because now that Coach Woodson is back, a lot of us will come back and try to connect with you guys to make sure that, especially we out of state, man. It's weird to say that. I'm from Illinois, but in Indiana guys, they know, like they locked in. But out of state guys really don't understand until we get there. And I want you to start studying it before you get there. So there's no period. You know what I'm saying? And it's important just to know those kind of things, man. Just ingratiate yourself into those traditions. Not that you have to emulate it, just so that you know it when what's the word? Alan Henderson walks in, oh man, shit, I seen that's Alan Henderson, man.
Mm-hmm.
Played in the 90s, best Big Ten player of the year, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So, and my last thing is, it's kind of twofold, man. Make sure that your team is a family. You can do that from a leadership perspective. No, make sure that there are no pockets and cliques in the team, and make sure that when you see that, you break that up, and you break it up by doing things together, because that's what championship teams are made of. And listening to all the championship guys who come on this podcast, Keith Smart, Steve Alford, Isaiah Thomas, Quinn Buckner, that's the one thing they had consistently they talk about on my podcast is how much of a family they were, how much of it wasn't no pockets. Everybody was on the same page. And if you weren't, you stuck out like a sore thumb. My time, I had a lot of turmoil during my time, a lot of transferring, a lot of McDonald's All-Americans leaving, and we weren't on the same page. And that's why we weren't as successful as those teams. And so our job is, as an alumni, my job is to make sure that when that doesn't happen to, our kids coming after us. And man, identify that and knock that out. Bowling together, eating together, pick a different teammate to go kick it with, not just the same two, those kind of things. And because that's Indiana, that's Indiana tradition. It's Indiana basketball, man. And the last thing is, and I know it's difficult because everybody has professional aspirations and want to play in the league. Make sure that you focus on the now, the college basketball season. Don't worry about the NBA. Don't worry about the G League. Don't talk about it. Don't let it manifest energy in your brain. Don't let it, because the path is now. What can I do to help Indiana win? Indiana successful. Miller Kopp going to be successful. Tamar Bates going to be successful. Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson. That's where the success comes. Nobody's going to want to draft a kid from a middle of the line team that should have been a good team that wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think you will do that. I know a lot of this stuff is just reminders, but when we have our recruits come on the show, I want to make sure that they understand what they're getting themselves into, and it's a positive what you're getting yourself into. It's a fun You don't see nothing like it, from on campus, off campus, social, and all those things, man. What do you think about those things?
I wrote them down. I want to make sure I got them all. So make connections.
Yep.
No social media during season.
Mm-hmm.
Show energy to the fans. I know. I
Yep.
think in between there, I may miss some.
You missed.
100, 200.
Yep.
Which one did I miss?
No, you didn't. Go ahead. Go ahead. That's the one.
Oh, 100, 200 game shot makes after every practice.
Yep.
Learn IU history and tradition.
Yep.
Make sure team is a family. Uh, focus on college basketball now. IU success equals my success. That's what I wrote.
Yep. The only thing that you missed, I think, was play with passion, enthusiasm, and
Yeah.
let the crowd know that you feel them, their energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you'll become a cult hero, and it'll be all she wrote, man. I'm telling you. So it's going to be a fun experience for you, man. Definitely. And that concludes that segment. I just want to get that out as we wrap
I
up.
appreciate that.
Oh, no problem, man. I'll be there supporting, whether it be on the podcast or in person. It's all positive. It's all love. There's no reason to be negative about anything. Even last year, they were just trying to get me to be negative. I'm like, no, these kids are going to remember this forever. Like, I don't want to be the guy that helped pour salt in their wounds. Like, that's just not what this is about. This is a family network, and we're going to have fun together. When are you scheduled to arrive on campus?
So right now I'm scheduled to arrive a little later than most guys because of my Northwestern quarterly system. Is ending later, but I'm supposed to get to campus on the 12th of June.
Okay. All right.
12th of June. And I'll start practicing working out on the 14th after I get cleared.
That's awesome. That's coming up.
Yeah.
What will IU tell IU fans what they should expect to see out of Miller Kopp this year?
I think kind of like you said, I feed off of, I think my best games have been at Indiana because of the fans and because of the energy,
Right.
even though it hasn't been, great towards me. I feel like that just is a part of me. I feel like I feed off the energy of the fans and noise. And, I remember my freshman year, it was my first Big Ten game ever. On the road at Indiana, with the team had Romeo Langford and Juwan Morgan, I think, and I started that game and I turned the ball over. It was like 4-6 or something like that. Turned the ball over, gave it literally right to Romeo Langford, and he went up and went down the court and dunked it. And we had to call a timeout, and that was the loudest I've ever. I mean, I couldn't hear myself think.
Right.
And ever since that, Indiana was still even though it wasn't a great memory for me, I was still my favorite place to play. After that moment.
Right.
So, but no, I think Indiana fans can just they can expect a guy who's gonna give them and the program all he's got. Someone who's gonna play with energy and passion and fire and fight. Every single night in every single game, and somebody who's going to be a team first guy and somebody who wants to win no matter what at the end of the day.
Well, that's awesome, man. I got a good feeling about you, man. I think you made the right decision, not just for yourself, but for your career, and just for to get a fresh start and allow you to get that passion back into the game and to feed off of a crowd like no other, man. I think you're going to be excited about it, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. So with that being said, man, I want to thank you for taking time out your day. I know it's time for you to get ready to go get a little workout in as usual and tighten it up. And but we look forward to watching you play, man, and we will be definitely watching and supporting and rooting you on. Just make sure you play as you play. You are who you are. You're a competitor naturally. All the things that I talked about normally, they're natural to you. Just make sure you do those things to ensure yourself a great opportunity to have success, man. Anything you want to say to Hoosier Nation before we get out of here?
Hoosier Nation, I'm counting down the days till I can, number one, get on campus, and number two, put on the candy stripes. So, and I can't wait.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to see you in the warm-ups. That's going to be dope. That's when you know it's real. You running around, you got that collar shirt on, that jacket, and them candy stripes. you're like, oh, this is different, and it's definitely different.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you, Miller Kopp. Out for the House of Hoosier podcast. I'm AJ Guyton, man. Signing off with my man Miller Kopp. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.